Philippines' social justice and social inequalities. Pervasive socioeconomic inequalities such as financial gaps, constrained access to healthcare and education, and the marginalization in specific groups based on gender, ethnicity, and class pose a barrier to social justice in the Philippines.
Socioeconomic status significantly impacts a child's ability to receive education, particularly in rural areas, and often leads to a lack of social mobility. Around 16.7 million Filipinos living below the poverty line struggle to afford education, even with free education options like state universities. Paradoxically, these free education opportunities are primarily accessed by the middle and upper income classes, further exacerbating education inequality and hindering academic opportunities for those from impoverished households.
Access to justice. The Philippine judicial system, who is frequently criticized for being biased in favor of the wealthy, makes it difficult for underprivileged groups to seek justice and receive protection, which leads to prejudice and injustice.
In the Philippines, the poor are not entitled to justice, simply because it is expensive, prejudiced, slow, and discriminatory against those at the bottom of the social scale. Everyone is aware that getting justice is difficult, unless when you are wealthy and powerful. Lack of educational access and social inequality are the root causes of unequal access to justice. Many oppressed people are those who are victims of poverty and are economically disadvantaged, for they lack the skills to defend themselves and fight for their rights. Poor people who are already deprived of many opportunities in life are also deprived of their right to seek redress for all the wrongs and oppressions they endure. That encapsulates the Philippines judicial system.
Gender inequality. Women encounter discrimination in economic opportunities, violence based on gender, and unequal access to education and healthcare. Intersectional factors like social class, ethnicity, and geographical location further compound challenges for marginalized women, amplifying social injustices. Despite efforts to achieve gender equality, the Philippines grapples with persisting unfair practices, including restricted educational access, lower wages, and violence against women.
It is known not only in the Philippines but also in other countries that men are the ruler and women are the server or the follower, mostly men degrading or underestimating women just because they're women. Why men do such things like degrading, abusing, underestimating, and mistreating women? Well, in fact, women are capable of many things that men can't do, and men are capable of things that a woman can't do. In the industry of services, mostly in food and agriculture, women are more sufficient in doing things like cooking, planting, and so many more. While on the other hand, men do and can do also the same task of works. Years ago, Philippine women are not allowed to vote or to have education, not until at September 17, 1937, where women's suffrage was legalized.
Urban-rural divide. The urban-rural divide refers to the disparities and differences in various aspects of life between urban and rural areas. These disparities can be economic, social, cultural, and infrastructural nature. Here are some key social issues associated with urban-rural divide.
Economic disparities. Economic disparities between urban and rural areas are often significant. Urban areas tend to have better job opportunities, higher wages, and more diverse industries, leading to higher standards of living. In contrast, rural areas often face limited job prospects, lower wages, and reliance on agriculture or natural resource-based industries. This economic gap can contribute to poverty, inequality, and limited access to resources and services in rural communities.
Access to healthcare and education. Healthcare and educational resources are often concentrated in urban areas, creating challenges for rural communities. Rural areas may have limited access to healthcare facilities, resulting in disparities in health outcomes. Similarly, rural schools may face challenges in terms of funding,
teacher recruitment, and access to educational resources, which can affect the quality of education available to rural students. This can contribute to inequitable outcomes and opportunities for rural residents.
The video contains a young teenager who is pregnant that lives on top of the mountain. The main problem in their area is a lack of clinics or medical professionals near them. As a result, they need to go down to the mountain to have a checkup, especially for her since she is pregnant. The journey is hard and scary at the same time because she is pregnant and about to give birth. One disappointing situation here was that when she arrived at the clinic below the mountain, the midwife concluded that it would be hard for them to assist Angelica in giving birth because she is a minor and the complications can't be avoided. They referred her to the nearest provincial hospital located in Catbalogan, Samar, but it is very complicated for Angelica since it needs a 3-hour trip when riding a bus. Angelica and her husband decided to stay with a relative while waiting for her to give birth.
Environmental injustice result in the Philippines because of unprivileged groups such as the indigenous urban poor are disproportionately impacted by problems like deforestation, mining, and pollution.
Income inequality is a significant challenge in the Philippines and it impacts economic mobility. The distribution of income and wealth is highly skewed, with a small percentage of the population holding a large portion of the country's economic resources. This concentration of wealth hinders upward economic mobility for those at the bottom end of the income spectrum.
Limited access to opportunities such as quality of education, health care, and employment is a barrier to economic mobility. Disadvantaged individuals and marginalized communities often face obstacles in accessing quality of education and acquiring the skills needed for higher paying jobs. Also, limited access to affordable healthcare and financial services further restricts upward mobility.
Persistent healthcare challenges, especially in third world countries like the Philippines, where access to healthcare is difficult, particularly for the impoverished and rural residents. Despite a growing population over nearly a decade, the healthcare sector hasn't kept pace with the demand. While Manila has advanced hospitals, their number hasn't matched the increasing need. Evangelista et al. 2022 emphasized that only a minority, about 20 to 30% of the population, has access to healthcare, leaving a substantial portion of around 70 to 80 million impoverished Filipinos without regular medical services. Many people rarely or never have the opportunity to consult with a healthcare professional.
Socio-ecological model. This is a versatile public health model framework focused on helping understand how various factors at multiple levels of influence impact health and well-being. It studies the interplay between individuals and their communities and other environmental contexts. In the context of healthcare, the healthcare sector and policymakers can identify and address the disparities at multiple levels. This may include implementing interventions that target improving cultural competencies in healthcare organizations and community resource gaps. Getting the healthcare we need can also be disadvantageous in terms of being poor, racial or ethnic minorities, women, or other groups who have experienced social disadvantage or discrimination, when in fact, these kinds of people are mostly those who are in need or the most vulnerable ones.
Addressing issues in social justice and social inequality is a complex and multifaceted endeavor. It requires a comprehensive approach that involves individuals, communities, institutions, and governments. While there is no one-size-fits-all solution, we can all contribute in our own small ways to help alleviate these issues.
Education and awareness. Education plays a critical role in promoting social justice and reducing social inequalities. By raising awareness about systematic injustices, historical context, and the experience of marginalized groups, we can foster empathy, understanding, and desire for change. This can be done through school curricula, workshops, and community discussions, and media campaigns. Moreover, one of the main reasons why inequality in education exists is because of poverty. There are parents who can't afford to provide their children's education because of the low salaries in our country, because that's how really Philippines works, right? So as we all know, everyone deserves the best quality of education. Yes, all of us deserve that. But how can we get this one if no one supports us? Or no one supports our needs and wants? That's why our government should give a lot of attention to education in our country. As a result, we can make a lot of trusted and brilliant professionals in the near future that can help us rebuild our country's economy.
Engaging in advocacies and activisms is crucial for challenging social injustices. That includes supporting organizations and movements that fight for equitable policies, legal reforms, and social change. By participating in peaceful protests, signing of petitions, and lobbying progressive policies, we demonstrate our commitment to address social injustice.
Government play a vital role in addressing social inequality through policy reforms. This involves implementing measures such as fair housing policy, affordable healthcare, social employment opportunities, criminal justice reforms, and anti-discrimination law. By advocating and electing leaders who prioritize social justice, we can influence policy decisions that promote equality.
Economic empowerment. Economic inequality is a prevalent issue in many societies. Promoting economic empowerment through job training programs, access to affordable credit, and entrepreneurship support initiatives can help level the playing field for disadvantaged individuals and communities. Supporting fair wages, workers' rights, and combating wealth disparities are also essential components of economic justice.
Intersectionality and inclusivity. Recognizing the interconnectedness of social identities is crucial for addressing social justice issues effectively. Intersectionality emphasizes that individuals may experience multiple forms of discrimination and disadvantages based on their race, gender, sexuality, and other factors. By incorporating an intersectional lens into our conversations and policies, we can better understand and address the complexity of social inequality.
Allyship and empathy. Allyship involves supporting marginalized communities by amplifying their voices, acknowledging privileges, and actively challenging oppressive systems. It is important to listen and learn from those who experience social inequality directly, instead of assuming we understand the experiences. Empathy and compassion are essential qualities in fostering meaningful social change.
Cultural competence. Cultural competence is a critical concept in understanding and addressing social inequalities. This refers to the ability to effectively interact and communicate with people from different cultures, respecting and appreciating their unique beliefs, values, and customs. In the Philippine context, a culturally competent approach can help assess and address various social inequalities. Engaging with communities and understanding their cultural norms and values is a crucial understanding of different influencers of issues in social inequalities. Cultural competencies foster meaningful dialogue and collaboration between external agencies and local communities, ensuring that decisions are relevant and respect local traditions.
Implementation of the House bills. The best way to address this rising judicial inequality in the nation is through the implementation of HB 3697. This bill, HB 3697, establishes a legal insurance for the poor to carry out this state's stated policy that free access to courts and quasi-judicial bodies and adequate legal assistance shall not be denied to any person by reason of poverty. Under the proposed program, any litigant who meets the criteria for being poor litigant as determined by the Public Attorney's Office may receive the benefit.